Hi, Kalpun Piso here. Brain is creating a lot of thoughts. Let's go back in time. The 15th of March of the year 44 BCE, something happened that will start a revolution of thinking, initiating what are so-called today the Abrahamic religions, especially Christianity. Rome was like nascent America that started with 13 colonies and evolved into a great nation. The Romans believed to be descendants of the Greek god Aeneas, and they had many gods, adopted many religions, beliefs from all over. The empire grew and grew. Its leaders, the Senate, were the ones that controlled the priesthood. They controlled the augurs and all the different religions. And they were all themselves priests. Kings and leaders from ancient times are considered to be sons of God or gods themselves, performing also miracles. Their penis is sacred because sex was sacred in ancient times. A brilliant man of the clans Iuli that was believed to be descended from Venus. There were 7 planets that were worshipped in ancient Rome. There were 15 priests and all that. But this man was Gaius Julius Caesar. And he was magnanimous. He treated everybody like he wanted to be treated, forgave the sins, forgave everybody. He wanted the Senate to be, which is the Republic, to actually treat well the enemies. They were in disarray. They were very bad to people all the time. So he eliminated all that. He was trying to eliminate all that, and it ended up costing his life, and his sacred blood was spilled. He built many temples to his mother Venus, and it was very, in many ways, pious. He did a lot of officiated, he was considered, a god. Mark Antony was his priest, and he was assassinated the 15th of March on the grounds of the so-called today the Largo Argentina, the sacred area by the Temple of Pompeii when the Senate was meeting. In the forum, the Senate, which is also the Curia Julia, which is built by Julius Caesar also, was being repaired due to a model of Rome in the 2nd century. The blue is where Largo Argentina is, and where I took this photograph. Everything in Rome was sacred. They personified a lot of things. Even the color in Julius Caesar's toga. It was a purple made out of Hexaplex trunculus, which is the Jews call it the helison. And they adapted all that. The Jews adapted absolutely everything from Rome. Everything, including their god, which was nothing but Julius Caesar. The god Julius Caesar did also something amazing. Because all the religion in Rome, depending in the prayers have to be exact. Everything has to be performed exact according to the calendar. So he fixed the whole calendar to be 365 days, or 360, and then of course with the added month. But also another interesting thing he did, he invented the book form. This didn't exist. This is an invention of Julius Caesar. What existed in those times was the scroll that you read, and everything was written in scrolls. Julius Caesar invented this. So people that believe in Julius Caesar are men of the book. When the Holy Father, son of Venus, Pater Patriarch Kyrios Megistus, the Jesus Christ, was sacrificed on the 15th of March of 44 BCE, they believe he actually wanted to commit suicide by cup because he dismissed his guards, and he was 56 years old. He suffered from epilepsy and flatulence and stomach problems and all that, so it was very embarrassed for him. So he didn't know he was going to be a god, truly a god. Julius Caesar Christ received 23 stab wounds, and by the way, the first autopsy in history. Then one of the critical stab wounds was done by the master of the horse. He used to be a master of horse. He fought a man that Caesar really liked very much. His name, he has forgiven, named Cassius Longinus. By the way, this is the same guy that stabbed Christ, 500 years later when the whole myth were mutating. But Julius Caesar died, stabbed to death, and he was placed during his funeral. His body was going to be cremated in a miniature temple of Venus that was suddenly grabbed. People start building this little temple of Venus, and his little temple of Venus. This was just like 9/11 in the whole Roman Empire, or this, the nascent empire. It was amazing. The guy was killed. Anyway, his body was placed to be cremated in the miniature temple of Venus, and then his image, as it was customary, was made a wax image of him, and it was put in a tropaeum. It's like a cross. It's a victory symbol. And now his image was there. Before, it's usually an armor with two shields and the vanquished underneath, but he was in there like victorious, and wearing a crown of acantha leaves. Acantha leaves is a crown of thorns. It's made out of bushy thorn bush, which is equivalent to the nymph Acantha that trying to make the god son Apollo trying to make some advances against Acantha in Greek mythology, and he turned her into a thorn bush because she refused his advances. So a thorn bush, Acantha leaves were symbolic of the sun god, and you can see in Corinthian columns, you can see all over altars and everything has that Acantha leaf, thorn bush. Notice real tangible evidence, a tropaeum and a coin. You can know there is the evidence. Another evidence of a tropaeum on a tree of life. And then we have here acantha leaves and the swastika, which is a cross which Hitler used because Hitler was a Christian. And then you have Apollo with the spikes of a crown of the sun. And then you have Jesus Christ with the same thing. Hello? What's wrong with this picture? This wax, imagine, it created a pitiful scene of the god being cremated and his image of wax with all the stab wounds and everything, and the priest of Julius Caesar, because it was a god, was Mark Antony, was showing, removing the thing and showing the stab wounds and saying, oh, look at this, he forgave the sins to everybody, and you end up killing him. You forget the sins and continue. And when he was cremated, people wanted to collect souvenirs of the god. I mean, there were masses in the street, trying to burn the houses of the killers and Brutus and Cassius, and everybody was, leaving town. And guess what? They put the ashes all over them in their head. That's where the Catholic Church get the Ash Wednesday from. In July of the same year, 44 BCE, 4 months after the god Christ Julius Caesar was killed, his son, the son of God, Diviphilius Augustus or Octavius, gave funeral games in honor of his father and the mother Venus Genetrix. Well, guess what happened? A comet appeared in the sky. That's the Cetus Iulium. This is a comet of Caesar. And that was the key. That's what it would make God an obvious God in heaven resurrected God. And he would mutate. Julius Caesar, actually the god Christus Julius Caesar, would mutate with other gods, with Jupiter, even with Jehovah and everything else, would worship all over the empire. 4 months later, he would become the Jesus Christ of the Gospels. The interesting thing is that the connections between Julius Caesar that really existed, and Jesus Christ are amazing. One existed, the other one didn't. This is alter ego. So therefore, and everything, even Julius Christ wrote books. The Civil War, and he wrote the Bello Gallico. All this stuff. Jesus Christ wrote shit. It didn't exist. There is no historical evidence he existed at all, whatsoever. Zero. The only historical evidence is where? The Bible. Big deal. The Bible is not historical at all, and it's a circular reasoning these people have. There is your Lord and Savior, which was actually Julius Caesar di Christ. Pace di oro.